New Earth, New You. Energy Healing with Joy Baker. Ready to experience a profound shift and the emerging New Earth consciousness? Join us as we welcome Joy Baker, an expert in energy healing and trauma release. What's the New Earth? It's a state of consciousness where we shift from fear and separation to love and unity, expand our intuition and connection to higher realms, and align with our soul's purpose. Perfect for all of us seeking profound healing and an extraordinary evolution. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Welcome, and let me share a little bit about the incredible guests that we have here on the show today. Joy Baker is an expert in healing, energy healing, and trauma release. Combining empathy with proven techniques, she guides individuals to release trapped emotions and ascend through their chakras. Joy's unique approach exceeds conventional healing practices by empowering clients to overcome adversity, achieve significant potential, and create an authentic lifestyle. I am so pleased to help welcome to our stage today, Miss Joy Baker. Welcome.
Hi, April. It's so great to be here, and thank you for having me on your show. And I just want to mention at the beginning there, where you talked about the space of the new Earth. I really liked your explanation of it and what you said there. That was awesome.
Yes, thank you. Well, that's the exciting part of having you on the show today, where we get to share an explanation of what all of that is, what that means, why so many of us are being driven to be something greater, be something better, move out of that fear zone. So let's start by sharing a little bit more about you so the audience can get to know you more.
Well, my story is like, a version of pretty much everybody who starts on the path, because the reason we start on the path is there's something, either we're looking for something more. I think at that time, when I started asking myself that question, like there's got to be more. I was still with the horses at that time. I spent the first part of my life with horses. So I was on the racetrack training and exercising horses. And it was really the desire at that time. I wanted to buy a ranch and get my own horses. Well, that takes a lot of money. And so I was looking for ways to really increase money. And it wasn't going to happen just by, training and exercising racehorses and such. And as I did, I got into network marketing. I started understanding the power of the mind and such. And as I got further along this path, and I started understanding why I got introduced to energy work. And as I got introduced to energy work, and I learned how when two people are talking, their energy fields are interacting, and that just made so much sense to, the energy fields. It's beyond the five senses, and even though we can't see it, it just made sense to that we're interacting in ways that we can't see. It made I think it made sense about that unexplained connection, that like it's unexplained, like I could never understand it. And I ended up leaving the horses. Well, my whole life, actually, I walked away from everything. I was 33, and my entire life with horses, and everybody I knew was on the racetrack. An 8-year relationship, which was ending anyways, but it was just my entire life. And people at that time were, if you didn't have a horse, at least we could talk about horses. I had no idea how to relate to people. So not only did I walk away from my whole life, I had to learn. It might sound a little strange to some people, but it was like people were a whole new species. I had no idea how to talk to them. So I had to teach myself that as well. And so it's been an interesting journey. And along the journey, like many people that have started on the path, I think everybody, that we get on the path for a reason. There's something we're looking to release or we let go of. And often it's that fear. We're not even aware of it until we want to grow and evolve in that. And then the fear comes up. And there were repressed memories of, abuse that came up growing up, like I had epilepsy and speech impediment. So got bullied a lot, became very, very, very shy. And on top of that, not knowing like the human species, literally, and being so shy. It's been an interesting journey, and along, as I was traveling along, I went through 2 bankruptcies just because I didn't know how to step out of horses and make money. So my go-to survival job was telemarketing, but that doesn't make much money. So, but I did along with the path. I learned about energy work and I really dived deeply into my inner world. And those two combined, being willing to dive deeply into the pain and the wounding and the repressed memories and such, and learning about energy and realizing that as I understood energy and there's different energy tools out there and such, I could use them to work through the trauma and evolve. That empowered me. And I always knew once I started doing this, I wanted to do something like work with others. Because as I started to understand the power of the mind, I realized that, we are way more powerful than we realize. That power
Mm.
in us. And I wanted to share that. And it was finally about 8.5 years ago, I said it's time and I launched my full-time healing business. So here I am now.
Here you are. That's such a beautiful journey that you share. And, it's fascinating to me that those repressed memories, how, for whatever reason, as we start doing more work on ourselves and we open ourselves up to expansion in many different ways, of growth, learning, the intellectual aspect, the spiritual aspect, those repressed memories tend to come up every now and again. And it's interesting. So, what can you share with us about that aspect specifically? Because I think it's important for people to know that this is stuff that happens. And how do you move past those emotions when they come up? Because a lot of them can be, it reinvites a trauma response
Mhm.
that we didn't, we were fine moving on through our day, and then all of a sudden we're like feeling like a kid that wants to curl up in a ball and hide in
Right.
a dark corner. So,
Right.
share with us a little bit about your experience with that, what it means for us, and that it's okay to not be fearful of this, but what exactly it means for our growth.
Okay. That's a really good question. What it means for growth? I've never heard it put quite like that. What it means for your growth is it shows how much stronger you are becoming within your energy field and within yourself. Because I absolutely believe the mind will protect you until you're ready to remember. And like when I remembered, and they were memories of sexual abuse. I remembered for 4 years, and then there was a gap of about 5 years, and then I remembered for another 4 years. But what I remembered the second time was way more intense than the first time. And I was convinced, absolutely convinced, that I had never been sexually abused until the memories started coming up. But the mind, by the time they started coming up, I'd been on this path about 5, 6 years. So I'd started to learn about the power within myself. And I absolutely believe that the mind, once it knows you're ready to release that dense, stuck, fear-based energy, the memories will come up. It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. But if you're going through this and you're saying, like, how could that be coming up again, or why am I feeling that shame again? It's because depends, everybody's unique, depends where you're at. But if it's something like a repressed memory abuse you went through or such, it's because you are okay. Just feel a little bit of anger coming up there, like in the collective, all those that are listening now and on the replay. So I'm just going to witness that anger and let that go. There you go. There's a release of tension. Know that instead of beating yourself up or shaming yourself or being stuck in fear, which it's really easy to get stuck in fear, tell yourself, support yourself, and tell yourself the very fact that this is coming up, the very fact that this shame or fear is coming up again, or if it's coming up for the first time or the memory, shows you how deep you have gone into your inner world. It shows you your courage. The more fear you have, the more courage you have. So if you're feeling a lot of
Mm,
fear, there's a lot of courage there. You just have to tap into that. But this is there's so many different ways to see this, and I've gone through, that fear and that terror and such, and I know, and the pain, and I know it's not a nice place to be in. But at the same time, acknowledge yourself, because it wouldn't be coming up if you weren't, some part of you was not ready to move through that, because
mm,
that fear, shame, that memory is a stuck energy within you. It's a stuck trauma. And there's a part of you saying, you know what, I want to experience all of life. And in order to do that, I've got to release these stuck, traumatized, places and spaces within me. Well, the only way to do that is to let it come up and move through it. So that is a sign, as painful and as, scary it can be and traumatizing and such, that is a sign of how much you are moving forward. So let yourself acknowledge that. Let yourself acknowledge just how brave you are and how courageous you are to walk this path. Because I always say it's not for the faint of heart. So anybody who's
mm,
listening to this, anybody who listens to any, spiritually based programs, you are courageous. You are very
mm.
courageous, because anybody who is, faint of heart, they won't walk this path. They won't even consider it.
Mm.
So,
That's so in alignment with, I started rereading The Alchemist last night, and it was a 10-year anniversary. So this was back in 2002, I think, that he wrote just a little insert, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I won't even say it, but most people know the book, The Alchemist. And he talks about how people who journey into entrepreneurship or journey into what they're called to do, God's purpose for them, their passion, whatever we may call it. But the few who do it are, as you say, very courageous, because it's very challenging, and you have your heart on the line because
mm,
you're in it. And so it makes me think of that alignment with people who are ready to step into and be open enough to face the dark aspects of all of that, whether it's pursuing your passion, but those open up all of those dark spaces within us, right? All of the fears that we have about showing ourselves to the world, being our authentic self. And so I really love how you mentioned that we're not ready for it. Until it shows up, or we are ready for it when it shows up. And
yeah.
so I think that's a beautiful way to describe it, and it just gives this oomph of, okay, I'm feeling this because it means I'm growing, it means that I'm ready, and it means that these energies are ready to move to and through.
Absolutely. And I think so often we forget to, like, this is a good reminder for people if you're going through that, because this 3D consciousness, this humanity we live in, often it's family or it's good friends and or people you've known for a long time, yet you're changing, and they don't understand, why are you going through that? Well, if it's painful, if it's bringing this up, why are you on the path? Or they just don't even understand it. So sometimes we each need to remind ourselves, yes, this is painful, it's traumatizing, but it's temporary. And it's a reflection of the courage within me that I am able to go through this. So, yeah, I
Hmm.
think sometimes we just need to remind ourselves and be our best, our own best advocate and supporter for, until eventually more and more people show up. And whether it's listening to programs like this, or joining and networking or whatever it is. But the
Yeah.
support is there. But sometimes we need to be our best supporter and advocate. So, yeah, be kind to yourself.
Always be kind to yourself. Easier said than done, right? But that's very important. Having that that grace for yourself, that patience for yourself. That's
Mhm.
always one of my most challenging aspects for me, is just having patience through the process. Joy, what were some of the things that you did as you were experiencing some of these very traumatic upbringings from past in your conscious, um, in order to move through it? You know, oftentimes they feel like such a massive setback. We feel like we've done so much work, like we're on the right track, we're feeling good. And then all of a sudden we get hit with this big whammy and it does feel like a setback. What were some of the things that you did to move through and feel good about that, and like you were now coming back up?
The number one thing I did throughout my journey, and I've done it for hours at a time, is EFT, emotional freedom technique. And I just went online. I remember I first found the energy tool. I was looking for something to help me with health symptoms that were coming up. Mainly it was dizziness. That was the worst symptom. And I looked for a tool that would, something that would support me in figuring out what was going on. And I found EFT and I just learned it on my own, and just I would do it for even 6 hours a day at a time. So that's one. And you mentioned, I knew, I think there was a part of me I had to keep reminding myself, this is temporary. It's coming up for a reason. And when you're in the midst of it, sometimes you're in the midst of it and you're in the midst of that pain and it's tough. And there were times I was suicidal and I felt all alone and like nobody cares. But keep reminding yourself, you are going to get through this. You will get through it. You are going to get through it. And remind yourself that, especially if you're right in the midst of it, it's temporary. Just keep telling yourself, this too will pass. I've said that many times. This too
Yeah.
will pass. This too will pass. And there's varying degrees. Like if you're right in the midst of that, and that whether it's fear or terror or feeling, shame, sometimes it's no matter what anybody says. And that's when it really won't. Sometimes there's always it can be a day, it can be a few hours, a few days or such. Sometimes you just have to go through it. And that's when something like, sticky notes and having a reminder put on your bathroom mirror, like, it's like I admire the courage it's taken me to get through this, or it's temporary, or this too will pass. And yeah, they're kind of, cliches, but if you're in the midst of something like that, sometimes it's just reminding yourself, like seeing, if you're in the, look in the bathroom mirror and you see a little post-it note, sticky note that says this too will pass, your brain goes, oh yeah, this is temporary, this too will pass. And just energetically, it lightens that just a little bit. And yes, you will get through that. And then after that, it's finding, EFT, it was like my best friend, this journey. It's been a 30-year journey. So, and I found that probably the beginning of 2000, and would do that for hours at a time. Really, I tapped a lot on money, listened to a ton of speakers. Once it became available, like through, online and such, because when I started out, it wasn't available
Mhm.
online. And right, if because generally it's not a habit, we're taught, more of a fear-based upbringing and conditioning in that. So put sticky notes around your house to remind yourself to believe in yourself, that it's temporary, this too will pass, to remind yourself to be kind to yourself. Like you said, April, it's not always easy to be kind to yourself. And your words your words are energy, your thoughts are energy. So the words you use towards yourself can either build you up, it can, support your immune system, your health, your vibrancy, your energy levels, or it can bring you down. So, but we all need those reminders, because we've been conditioned energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, but also biologically, like our physical selves. from a fear-based conditioning. That's that 3D conditioning, which is starting to consciousness, which is starting to shift. But most of us grew up in that, pretty much everybody on the path. That's how we get on the path. So we need those reminders. Another one is use color in your life. I love your background. You've got all those colors there. And even if a person doesn't have much money, go to the dollar store and just get pieces of, that colored construction paper and put it up on your walls. So color has a vibration and frequency, and that will raise your frequency. Any spiritual symbols or anything like that, like if you're looking to raise your frequency and remind yourself, like bring up the frequency of your environment, you can print off spiritual symbols, put up the phoenix rising, anything like that, or dolphins, if that means a lot for you, put that up on your walls, put it on your bathroom mirror, and all of this will bring up your frequency. And if you're going through something right now that's really you're stuck in a struggle, or maybe you just feel stuck, especially in the past few years we've been going through. I've been hearing this lately, is just everything just kind of feels blah. Well, start to raise your frequency of your environment. You can do that through words, you can do it through color, you can do it through the clothes you wear, you can do it through putting symbols up on your wall, play high frequency music, and all this will support you. It supports your health. Definitely it supports your health, supports your immune system, supports your mental, emotional world. And then you can start to decide, and you start to make choices from a higher frequency and a higher consciousness. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can support yourself. And then, there's so much available now, like amazing speakers and shows, and you've got amazing speakers on April. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's within each person. But what can be really seductive is that 3D fear-based energy. It is, I call it seductive, especially when I was suicidal, and then really in the midst of that energy, it was almost seductive. And so this is why you need to support yourself before that energy gets really heavy and dense like that, with different ways like that.
Well, I'm very excited to hear more about that. We're going to play our commercial, and then when we get back, let's jump a little more into that. And what I hear you say, Joy, is that it takes work. And when you do the work, your life starts to unfold in a totally different way. And because we're these systematic, automatic creatures, just basically like a robot, right? The body is a robot controlled by the mind. And so all of those reminders, even though it sounds silly, are the things that we have to do in order to reprogram ourselves to understand that this too shall pass, and that the only constant is change itself. So it must change into something else, or this too shall pass, right? And so I also love the things that you talk about bringing color and bringing the things that you love, bringing pictures and photos. So much of us, when we are adults, we get away from that authentic piece that we experience as children, because what else could we be until we start to experience more trauma in life, or just merging into the societal standards or what have you. But if we could bring ourselves into childhood a little bit, just sit with ourselves, and what was it that we were drawn to then? I have action figures of She-Ra, the Princess of Power, on my desk, because those are things that remind myself of this is what I was drawn to as a child. And I don't want to forget that play aspect of myself, and the creativity, that the world is unlimited with the thoughts and the things that we can do and accomplish. So we'll move into that commercial. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today.
Welcome back, everyone. Here with Joy Baker, and we are talking about trauma release, energy healing, and the new earth. So jumping right back into conversation, Joy, let's talk a little bit about this 3D aspect in the new earth and what that all means for us.
Sure. I just want to mention before I do, because on the commercial there, it talked about hugs. And I remember doing some inner child work with my therapist. And he was saying, like, connect to the inner child within you, because the most important relationship you have in your life is with yourself. So, I was learning to have a conversation with my inner child. And he said, get a pillow. And he said, you can walk around, hold a pillow to your heart, and imagine you're hugging your little girl. And I still remember that when I saw the hugging, I thought of that. So, okay. So the consciousness of the 3D consciousness, that fear. So 3D consciousness, we've been birthed into that. Our ancestors have been birthed into that. It's been around for, thousands of years. And it's fear-based. So it's like, think of fear as a thread that holds it all together. And anything that aligns with fear, shame, guilt, anger, disappointment, anxiety, and such. So the vast majority of us grew up in that energetic field, that fear-based energetic field. So that's what you know. That's your under. Just hold on a second here. I can feel a little bit of an energy coming in as I talk about this. And it's like an interruption energy. So I'm just going to acknowledge this. And okay, so what it is, how do I describe this? These are like dark energies that are coming in that are trying to prevent us from understanding this fear-based space. Because when we understand something and the mind understands it, then you can become free of it by, choosing to move forward. If you don't understand something, then you're stuck in it. And I could feel that energy coming in. I feel it because I'm in the midst of, like, sources supporting me right now. Sources guiding me, and my spiritual guide. So I felt that it was like interruption energy coming in.
We had a few drop off, and I think as you say that, it's fascinating to me because I've had other guests on the show where we've had disturbances or things come up where it was challenging to be able to get the information out. And, the guest at the time, or a few of them, have mentioned, well, this must be really good information that needs to get out there because, we're having some difficulties here. So, let's say it that way. I agree with you. I think that these are things that we all need to know about, and it only helps us all rise above and evolve as a species. And what we're talking about here is that new earth concept of going into something totally different than we're experiencing, getting out of that 3D fear zone, right?
Yeah. And thank you. That's interesting that you've had other speakers mention that as well. And see, the more we understand that we're not a victim of this 3D consciousness. Like I grew up depressed. I didn't know I was depressed. I just thought everybody felt like life wasn't worth living and down, and I was numb. I felt I didn't feel anything. I was just numb. I didn't even know what emotions were until I started this work. And my therapist said one day, I started out working one-on-one with somebody, and he said, well, maybe you're depressed. And I'm like, oh, depression, what? Like, I'd never heard of it. So I had to learn about depression and what it was and such. And then once I understood, okay, that's depression, that's what I felt my whole life, then I could move forward from that. And as I was talking about the fear-based 3D, consciousness and the field, you grew up in that field. So let's say you grew up in fear, shame, anger, you were intimidated, you were overpowered, anxious, or somebody else, like the environment. So it's not just you, it's the environment. Whoever raised you, your parents, you're around siblings and such. That's energetic emotional field you're used to. You're familiar to that, with that. Now, when I was being interrupted there by another energy, energy was trying to interrupt me. And because the more this information gets out to the masses, the more people are aware of this fear-based 3D consciousness and how it controls and restricts and limits a person, the more power it gives them to say, hey, I don't want to keep living that way. I want, I'm ready. I want to choose differently. So now what's the fifth dimension? The fifth dimension, the thread that holds that together is divine love, expansiveness, beauty, grace, freedom, and then anything that's aligned with that: happiness, appreciation, gratitude, joyfulness, peace, expansion, lightness, flow, ease, gratitude, all of that. Now, so in between that is the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension, it's like a portal, or you can think of it as a tunnel, and it connects these two dimensions, these two spaces. The fourth dimension is where you're doing your inner work. It's where you're processing. So it's like you're walking as you're doing your inner work. You're looking at things. You're choosing differently. You're choosing paths of higher consciousness. You're choosing to interact with people and groups and such of higher consciousness that are authentic, that are uplifting and inspiring and such. That's the fourth dimension. And that is the portal that takes you from that fear-based third dimension where it feels like everything stays the same, or, you're just stuck in fear and struggle, and to that fifth dimension of flow and ease. That's where you open up to receiving. Everybody deals with money in this world. So you open up, you allow yourself to receive ever increasing amounts of money with ease and grace and flow. But yeah, that fourth dimension is kind of what we've been talking about here, is the fourth dimension when you're right in the midst of it. And
it's like the bridge.
Yeah, it's a bridge.
You're on the bridge.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is: a portal, a bridge, a tunnel. And when you're doing your inner work, you're in the fourth dimension. And so you want to get to the fifth dimension. How do you get there? First of all, start by choosing. So it doesn't have to be something, physical. It doesn't have to be a physical manifestation if you're not sure if you want to. Most people want to travel, but you might want to buy a car or a house, or you might want to go swimming with the dolphins, or you might want to spend more time with your grandkids, or retire, or quit your job and start a business. Whatever it is, have something in mind. But even more so than that, how do you want to feel emotionally? Happy, full of gratitude, joyful, uplifted, inspired, creative, peaceful, energized, healthy, vibrant? How do you choose to feel? Those are the fifth dimensional frequencies. And so you want to start living from a place of freedom and expansiveness and flow and abundance. Start by choosing those higher dimensional frequencies, because when you make a choice, so you consciously choose something, you are sending an intentional frequency out to the universe, out to source. And they hear that. The non-physical benevolent light beings, they hear that. Okay, so I heard the collective say, well, why don't I receive it right away then? The reason you need to keep asking for that, because let's say you say, okay, I want to travel. First of all, you decide, okay, where do you want to travel to? You want to travel to some part of the world. And so now you want to travel, you know where you want to travel. And now you're saying, okay, well, I need the money to do that. So you choose to open up to receiving money in ever increasing amounts of ever increasing amounts with ease and grace from expected and unexpected places. So the universe has heard all that. The universe has said, oh, okay, that's what you want. Sure, we're going to, give that to you. But then what comes in is doubt. Could that really be possible? And if you go, okay, well, maybe that is possible, then am I worthy? Am I deserving? So all that comes in. So then you go into your inner work and you choose again. So it's a process. But every time you do that, you vision that. See, your emotions are like magnets. They will magnetize your vision to you and you to your vision. They're just like a magnet. They can either attract or repel. And so the more you vision that and you magnetize that with those 5D emotions, happiness, gratitude. So, oh my gosh, once I'm traveling to Italy, let's say, once I travel to Italy and I'm looking forward to flying first class, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I can just imagine that. And I'm so full of gratitude and it feels so good. Oh my gosh, that feels amazing. The universe goes, wow, that's what you want? Sure, we're going to give that to you. Now, your conditioning, your fear-based conditioning is going to come up. And if you heard, growing up, well, like not enough is a core belief for many people. So, and that affects everything in your life and, definitely money and what you believe you're worth and what you deserve and how you can live your life. So stuff will come up and, well, I'm not worthy of that, or I'm not deserving of that, or a big one for a lot of people. Oh, what will they think? Imagine if I was to fly first class to this place and enjoy, being there for 3 weeks and however long it is and have so much fun. What would they think? What about the people that know me or just whoever they is? So you continue to revisit that vision and how you're going to feel, how amazing you're going to feel. The more you do that, that magnetizes it. And eventually, see, when you envision it with emotions, you're creating a form, an energetic form in the field. And whether it's even just a thought, that's an energetic form. The more you envision that and you magnetize that, like you're filling it up with those amazing emotions, eventually you do that enough time and it manifests from energetic form into physical form.
I love the example of that magnetic aspect of what our emotions are. And it is a beautiful way to look at it, this mirror effect, this magnetic mirror effect of how our emotions are and how that goes out into the field. And so, thank you so much, Joy, for sharing that with all of us. It's been very descriptive in having a better understanding of all of this. So I would love to know, what are some of the things you've done an immense amount of work. And so what are some of the things that you do consistently now on a daily basis to help keep those vibrations up and keep you in that infinite creative aspect?
Mm, every day. Well, I play every night. I have high frequency music playing. It's really, really low. I can barely hear it, but it keeps up the frequency in my environment. And a few nights, I've been doing that for a few years now. A few nights I've forgotten to play it and I don't sleep very well now. So that just keeps up the frequency and of the environment. And uh, I would say a lot of it is my self-talk. I I think I'm so used to it, and I've done this for so long now, is I pay attention to I was gonna say I pay attention to my self-talk, but now it's more of just of a habit. I choose to, if I find myself getting down or scared or worried, or I will just change my self-talk. I'm amazing. I like myself. I appreciate myself. I matter. I am important. You want to choose words and sentences like that because that can turn everything around. Literally, it can turn around in an instant. So I would say really paying attention to the frequency of the environment, listening to high frequency music, and being kind to myself are a couple of the big things I do.
Well, that's a really great testimony when you've done so much work that it's just automatic. And that's exactly the goal that we all want and desire, right? Where it is automatic responses, where you are caring for yourself, you are talking to yourself in positive, beautiful ways, loving ways. And so, thank you again for sharing that. I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. I've had it displayed here on the screen a couple of times. So, for those of you listening in, courageinaction.com is where you can find Joy and all of her services. And speaking of Joy, what is the next thing that you are very excited about creating right now?
Myself or like as a collective?
For your well, either. You could answer
Okay.
either way. What are you most excited about?
You know what excites me? What really just, makes my day is when somebody steps into their power, when they're scared or when they're
Mm.
feeling stuck or they've been going through a hard time and they said, you know what, I did this, or I talked to myself in this way, or sometimes we have to, give ourselves a kick in the butt, whatever it is. Like I'm done with being, living like this or staying stuck. Like something has got to shift. And when people email me or they tell me, you know what, I listened to you or even another speaker, whatever, and I took this action, that's what inspires me. And that's why I do this. It's just like that one email, somebody says, you know what, I did this and oh my gosh, things have changed. Or I'm so much happier. I feel at peace. It's like, that's why I do this. And that is,
Mm.
if I was to say creating something, there's not something specific that I'm creating. It's more the supporting of humanity to step into that, God-given power and to feel that and to take action and to choose to be happy and to live life in a way that supports you. If it's peace you're looking for, or freedom or happiness or connection, healthy, authentic, uplifting connections, that's what inspires me.
Mm, that's beautiful. And it becomes quite addictive when you start to get feedback as you start lifting and rising others. So,
Mhm.
Joy, you have mentioned that you have something very special to share with all of us here today on the Wellness Driven Life Show. How about we step into that?
Okay, and that's the group process. We can,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So, okay, just take a deep breath in. There you go. So we're just going to start here by seeing everything, witnessing everything that is keeping you stuck. And so this is for the collective. Everybody's listening live or on the replay. Source knows, even if it's 10 years from now. And okay, so we're being guided to go to the first chakra. This is the root or the base chakra. It's about family or survival. We won't necessarily go through all the chakras, but there's something stuck in the first one here. And what is that? It's a heaviness. It's like this heavy, dense energy that's keeping you stuck, almost rooted to, oh, okay, so you don't want to let go. And there's something you don't want to let go of. Okay, so even just mentioning that brought up a lot of grief and sadness. The grief and sadness is because you're starting to let go. You're starting to let go of hanging on so tightly to what you've known your whole life, to what's familiar, that familiar comfort zone. And letting go of that familiar comfort zone, yes, it can bring up a lot of sadness and grief because if that's all you've known, it can be almost like a friend. There you go. So let's honor and acknowledge that and witness that. Okay, so we're going to go to the throat chakra because as your beautiful, radiant, authentic self comes up, your throat chakra it's almost like it wants to shut down and say, I'm not going to express myself because it's not safe. Okay, a lot of fear coming up there. Okay, so all the ways there are energies and your comfort zone, your conditioning is wanting to shut down your expression, whether it's being kind to yourself or expressing yourself authentically to others, and knowing who it's safe to express yourself to. All the ways there's a part of you that just wants to shut you down because you believe that's the only way to stay safe. Let's honor and acknowledge that part of you. And as you're ready, just remind yourself that you're safe. And as you're ready, it's safe to release that. There you go. There's some happiness. There's that beautiful, radiant light shining from you. There you go. There's some gratitude. You're filling up with gratitude. Gratitude is flowing throughout you. You're feeling vibrant, joyful, happy, and there's your child. The inner child within you feels so happy because they feel heard. They feel heard. There you go. Yes, child, we see you. We acknowledge you. We witness you. We hear you. And as you are ready, let's see all parts of you, your adult self, your child, calling in all lost soul fragments to be here now, and balancing all parts of you, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, cellular, balancing all parts of you now. There you go. Soshoka basa wala soshoko babaka awala sa soshoka basa wala ka wala soshoko awala sa soshoka basa wala ka tuka base babaka awala sa soshoka basa wala ka tuka base babaka. Open heart. That light is radiating from your beautiful open heart. Soshoka basawala ka wala soshoko, feeling peaceful, at ease, grounded, centered, balanced, whole and complete. Soshoka basawala ka tukabase babaka. Awala sa soshoka basawala ka wala soshoko babaka wala soshoka basawala ka. There you go, my friend. Namaste.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
That was fascinating. And I felt so much energy just move through me. So I know that the audience enjoyed that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that especially the light language just really brings in some beautiful divine energy presence.
So there you have it, audience. This is Joy Baker with us on the Wellness Driven Life Show. We were so blessed to have you here today, Joy. And I want to remind everyone that you can find information about her and her website in the description below. And thank you so much for tuning in, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So goodbye for now, and we will see you all next time.